Hello again. Cities of the Plain by Cormac McCarthy. This is a follow-up video from my longer review, my longer spoiler-free review of Cities of the Plain. And in this video here, I will read some passage from the absolutely best scene in Cities of the Plain, and one of the best scenes in the whole Border trilogy, which is the knife fight between John Grady Cole and Eduardo. And after that, there'll be a little bit of a spoiler, but I will warn you. But for reasons I won't go into until we get to the spoilers, John Grady Cole is engaged in a violent knife fight with a pimp called Eduardo, who is the manager of a brothel in Mexico. And John Grady Cole sort of seeks him out, comes to him to challenge him, to fight him, to try to kill him. And when the passage that starts here, the fight has been going on for a little bit, and John Grady Cole is not doing so well. Eduardo is very skilled with a knife. And as we come into this passage, John Grady has lost his knife. And this is Eduardo that speaks. And after that, the dialogue follows. And as you know, McCarthy doesn't tell you who speaks, so neither will I, but you will figure it out. The first line is Eduardo. The suitor seems to have lost his knife. Not so good, eh? He turned, he circled back. He looked down at the knife. What are we going to do now? The boy, that is John Grady Cole. The boy didn't answer. What will you give me for the knife? The boy watched him. Make me an offer, said Eduardo. What would you give at this point to have the knife back? The boy turned his head and spat. Eduardo turned and paced slowly back. Will you give me an eye? The boy feinted to bend and reach for the knife, but Eduardo warmed him away and stood on the blade with his thin black boot. If you let me pry one eye from your head, I will give you your knife, he said. Otherwise, I will simply cut your throat. The boy said nothing. He watched. Think about it, said Eduardo. With one eye in your head, you still might kill me. A careless slip, a lucky thrust. Who knows? Anything is possible. What do you say? He paced away slightly to the left and returned. The knife lay crushed into its mold in the sand. Nothing, eh? I'll tell you what. I will make you a better offer. Give me one ear. What about that? The boy lunged and grabbed for his arm. He spun away and passed the blade twice more across the boy's belly. The boy made a lunge for the fallen knife, but Eduardo was already standing over it, and he backed away, holding his stomach, the warm blood running between his fingers. You are going to see your guts before you die, said Eduardo. He stepped away. Pick it up, he said. The boy watched him. Pick it up. Did you think I was serious? Pick it up. He bent and picked up the knife and wiped the blade on the side of his jeans. They circled. Eduardo's blade had severed the fascia of his stomach muscles, and he felt hot and sick, and his hand was sticky with blood, but he was afraid to turn loose holding himself. The slicker had come unwound again, and he shook it free and let it fall behind him. They circled. Lessons are hard, said Eduardo. I think you must agree. But at this point, the future is not so uncertain. What do you see? As one cuchillero to another, one filero to another. He feinted with the switchblade. He smiled. They circled. What does he see, the suitor? Does he still hope for some miracle? Perhaps he will see the truth at last in his own intestines, as do the old brujos of the Campo. He stepped in with his knife and feinted at the boy's face, and then the blade dropped in a vanishing arc of falling light and connected the 3 bars by a vertical cut to form the letter E in the flesh of his thigh. He circled to the left. He flung back his oiled hair with a toss of his head. Do you know what my name is, farm boy? Do you know my name? He turned his back on the boy and walked slowly away. He addressed the knight. In his dying, perhaps the suitor will see that it was his hunger for mysteries that has undone him. Whores, superstition, finally death. For that is what has brought you here. That is what you were seeking. He turned back. He passed the blade again before him in that slow, scythe-like gesture, and he looked questioningly at the boy, as if he might answer at last. That is what has brought you here, and what will always bring you here. Your kind cannot bear that the world be ordinary, that it contains nothing save what stands before one. But the Mexican world is a world of adornment only, and underneath it is very plain indeed. While your world, he passed the blade back and forth like a shuttle through a loom, your world totters upon an unspoken labyrinth of questions, and we will devour you, my friend, you and all your pale empire. Now I think that is brilliant, and the rest of the fight is also brilliant. So here comes the spoilers. So if you don't want the spoiler, just stop now. 3, 2, 1. So young Lady Cole dies. He does not survive the knife fight with Eduardo, but he manages to kill Eduardo. And the way he does that is a beautiful representation of what young Lady Cole is all about, and what we also saw in All the Pretty Horses. He came there to kill Eduardo, no matter the consequences. He is outmatched, he is outsmarted. Eduardo is far better at him than fighting with a knife. But young Lady Cole does not care if he dies, and Eduardo does. So on top of that, young Lady Cole has, as we know, a very, very high pain tolerance. So the only way that he manages to kill Eduardo is by opening himself up, by letting Eduardo get close, by stabbing him, by Eduardo I mean stabbing young Lady Cole fatally. And as he does so and is close to young Lady Cole manages to thrust his knife upwards into the jaw and throat of Eduardo, and basically, pinning the knife all the way through his skull. Billy finds him. He takes him to safety. He carries him through the streets in his arms. It's very evocative of Jesus Christ after he has been crucified and is being carried by one of his disciples, I think. And he survives for a while, but eventually he passes away. And the reason why he was in the knife fight with Eduardo to begin with is because young Lady Cole had organized and bribed someone to pick up the prostitute and bring her safely to the US. But Eduardo has outsmarted him. The guy that was picking him up double-crossed young Lady Cole, brought her to the shore of the lake, where one of Eduardo's underlings cut her throat, and young Lady Cole finds her in the morgue and has to identify her and is devastated, and therefore he goes to kill Eduardo. I think this is the greatest part of the novel. The knife scenes are pages and pages of the stuff that I just read to you, and I just think it's brilliant. I think it's better than the prison scene in All the Pretty Horses, which is very good, but this is just a little bit better because we see and we know that the stakes are very high. And in All the Pretty Horses, we have the feeling that young Lady Cole is invulnerable. Nothing can harm him. He seems to get out of everything alive. But the way everything builds up in Cities of the Plain, we just know that this is not going to end well. And indeed, it feels like this is the destiny that young Lady Cole was always marching towards. His stoicism, his heroism, his righteousness, his his morals, his uprightness, it would always, his carelessness, it would always bring him in a situation like this. But unfortunately, he died 19 years old. Okay, that was what I wanted to read to you in this video and to share with you the spoiler here about how the novel ends. And I assume if you've heard this that you already read the book, or you don't care about it enough to read the book neither, in which case, why are you even listening to this? In any case, thank you very much and see you later.